Welcome to the Rob Burgess Show. I'm, of course, your host, Rob Burgess. On this, our 251st episode, our returning guest is Jonathan Fowler. Jonathan is the all-time most frequent guest of the Rob Burgess Show. For a complete list, check the show notes. Jonathan graduated with a BA in History from Indiana University in 2006. He is an unabashed left-wing political junkie. He has lived and worked in South Korea for over a decade, trying to help the citizens of that great nation, hopefully, talk pretty one day. A quick programming note. Since we recorded this episode on Tuesday, the FBI announced that they had unlocked the phone of the Trump rally shooter. And now on to the show. Last we talked, it was the debate. We went through the entire thing. People were freaking out at that point. There's been several, I think, in an attempt to, stem the bleeding or whatever. There's been several appearances and speeches and press conferences to, proof of life videos that have emerged.
I don't think any of them have been in the slightest convincing.
No. Yeah, so. I think when he called Zelensky Putin.
And now I want to hand it over to the president of Ukraine, who has as much courage as he has determination. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You can beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President.
I'm better.
You are a hell of a lot better.
Thank you so much.
And then called Kamala Harris Trump.
What concerns do you have about Vice President Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump if she were at the top of the ticket?
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one, the fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again.
That wasn't, any other time, those would have been just kind of your run-of-the-mill Joe Biden gaffes, but this was not the time.
Yeah.
Speaking extemporaneously has not worked out well for him for a while, but it's really gotten... Apparently George Clooney was concerned enough to call for him to drop out in the meantime, so...
Yeah, well, that has happened now. I mean, yeah, it's not good, and Clooney's like a Democratic fundraising bundler, as far as I know. So that's that's going to be an Achilles heel of any politician when they're big bundlers start cutting funding. I think the Disney heiress or whatever said no more funding to the Democratic Party until they replace Biden. Who knows where that's at now? But.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. But it seems like we've gone to another point. And, well, then we get to the assassination attempt of Donald Trump, which changes everything in a way. And I think at this point, probably, there may have been people jockeying publicly or behind the scenes to, if Biden was going to be out, then maybe they would be considered as the replacement. Mm-hmm. Why would you want it at this point? The entire point of replacing Biden was that Biden looked weak against Trump in that debate, and every time since then. And so we need to replace Biden with somebody who's younger and has more vitality and strength than Trump. Trump just got shot in the ear, allegedly, here. And, some people said it was glass shattering, but it seems like it's come out that it was actually the bullet that hit his ear or something. I think he was wearing a bandage on his ear, so we can't actually see how his ear looks. But it didn't look like he was missing much of his. I mean, this was not a Mike Tyson situation, Evander Holyfield. It didn't look like a chunk of the ear was missing. I don't know. We may find out later that that's not correct. But how do you, how do you make Kamala Harris look tougher than Trump, who's got blood across his face with his fist raised in the air, screaming, "Fight, fight"?
And that's a little bit old. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
you. Ready? Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move it to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. We ready? Shooters down. Shooters down. Shooter down. Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move? Shooters down. We good to move. Are we clear? We're clear. We're clear. We're clear. Come on.
Let me get my shoes. Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes, sir.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Move to the bus. Let me get my shoes.
Okay, my shoes down.
Watch out.
In front of his people chanting USA. Like, there's nobody in the Democratic Party that's going to look tougher than that right now. And so everybody's probably just like, okay, let's just keep our powder dry. Let's let Trump have his next 4 years. He's going to beat Biden. We all know that. But maybe for myself, I've got a better chance in 2028.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that's probably, I think they missed the moment or whatever to have replaced Biden, because probably not many people want it right now. And I think the Democratic Party has resigned themselves to losing this time, basically. I think the only thing that might guarantee that Trump doesn't become president is if the American people wise up and realize, yeah, we're having a return to 1960s style political violence with Trump.
Yeah.
If you want to continue this craziness, you can say, oh, he didn't deserve it. They tried to kill him and I feel bad for him now, so I'm going to vote for him. But the fact is, we weren't having this kind of crazy, wild assassination attempts with Mitt Romney, Barack Obama. I mean, every presidential candidate probably has to contend with threats of violence or attempts on their life, but they don't go like this. I don't know,
Yeah, well, a
There's
couple
also-
things. Yeah, well, a couple things before you go on. The shooter, it's come out, was a registered Republican, first of all.
Well, they say he gave $15 to a Democratic thing.
I'm
but,
also,
well, I've heard that the person he gave the money and then he unsubscribed to the email chain immediately afterwards too, and they're saying it may have been a troll or something. I don't know. It sounds like the students from his high school are saying that he was extremely conservative.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as far as they're going to try to make Trump the big victim in all this, but as far as I can tell, this is Republican on Republican violence.
It is, yeah, and it seems like a lot of those narratives that they're pushing about, oh, the left is fomenting violence, those were written before that came out that he was leaning more Republican and conservative, and they just were kind of banking on it being, somebody of the left. And so it's like they had those scripts pre-written, it seems like, and then they just kind of went with them regardless of the facts. And the other thing about, yes, it does seem like this definitely helps Trump. And it's that thing I sent you said, it's like if this was closer to the election, I would say definitely Trump's going to win. But this is also banking on the restraint and good taste of Donald Trump and the MAGA base for the next 4 months. And I don't know if they can contain themselves for that long. I think he's been somewhat restrained since then, because I think he knows that he's kind of sitting in the catbird seat or whatever. And I think he doesn't want to do anything to screw that up. But I seriously don't know how long he can hold out without making some more petty attacks and remarks, and you know what I mean, and just bringing himself down. Right now he's on this pedestal, right, because he's the big victim. How long is he going to possibly be able to, to maintain that? So,
well, I think he's highly motivated to win.
Sure.
I think he sees being reelected as his ticket to stay out of jail forever. And I think he's shown a lot of restraint since the debate. I mean, even during the debate, I think we noted that he was relatively restrained in his attacks on Biden, because he seemed to understand that having Biden remain his opponent was the best chance. So, beating up on Biden too much in the wake of the debate was going to, spook the Democrats into possibly replacing him with somebody more competent. And he didn't want to do that. I don't know. We'll see. I think he's probably learned a lot since 2016 about how to conduct himself and how to, position himself and stuff, and how not to freak as many people out in some cases. So I'm not sure that we're going to see it return to form necessarily before the election. We'll see what happens. But he doesn't have to do anything very crazy to just walk into the presidency at this point, basically.
Yeah, assuming he doesn't do anything wild, I think if it was just to remain as it is until the election, I think he would definitely win at this point. Like, I don't see any way Biden would win now.
He's already distanced himself from the Project 2025 stuff that we all know he's gonna, 100% embrace once he gets into position. So it's, I think he's still showing remarkable restraint. So yeah, I don't know. It's not a good thing. And I think, I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall of the Biden administration about they're talking about his chances of winning at this point, because I think everybody knows it went from bad to worse with the debate, and none of his, going on George Stephanopoulos and, blathering about things and trying to talk about his policies when nobody cares about his policies. No, I mean, number one, he's talking about policies that he can't possibly put into place without the trifecta, the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And he's not going to get that. Everybody knows that. And it's also like he's we're gonna restore Roe versus Wade, which we already talked about during the debate coverage. That I don't think most Democrats want to restore Roe versus Wade. But number two, you're the president right now. You haven't done it yet. Why not? Because you don't have all parts of government. You're not going to get all parts of government in this election. So to sit there, this is the kind of bullshit lie that politicians always do. They say, I'm going to do this. Yeah. Okay, well, if you have all the power in the world, you could do that, but you're not going to, and you don't have a realistic plan to get all the power that you would need to do it. But you're going to tell your people that that's what you're going to do, and that's supposed to inspire them to, squeak you over the line in this election.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was reading an article yesterday about Biden promises to do this, this, and this in his first 100 days. And it's like, what about the last 100 days? What, you president right now? Like, you can do that if you're the person out of power, right? Because it's like, my first 100 days, when I get in there, there's a new sheriff in town. It's like, well, you're already the sheriff in town. Like you've claimed the sheriffship and have for the last, however many years,
Yeah. Well, we've talked about the incumbency, benefit or the advantage of being an incumbent. This would be the disadvantage of being the incumbent, is that anything that you want to do you have to promise things that haven't been done yet. And for everything that you promise, you have to explain why it hasn't been done yet. And if the media and the educated public were able to ask the correct questions, they'd say, you haven't been able to do it yet. It's been blocked, completely. What is going to change? What's your plan to change the dynamics that's going to allow you to do this thing that you're telling us you want to do? Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's a mess. And again, like I said, I think everybody else in the Democratic Party has basically resigned themselves to losing. And, I've seen like Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks and Anna Kasparian go out there, and, even like AOC on Twitter or something was like, these people can't give up. We got to keep fighting. It's like, that's nice to say, but be real. What is really happening here? It's over. Everybody knows it's over. It's all over but the crying at this point. So,
yeah. Well, if it's really that bad, why not still replace Biden though, right? I mean, because, how could it be worse than what's already happening? Give it a shot. Who knows? Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. The people they're putting forward to, we talked a little bit about the K-Hive and Kamala Harris and stuff last time. Mm-hmm. I think people think she's going to be better in a debate against Trump. I'm not so sure. I think she, if she, in the Senate or whatever, when she was prosecuting people, when she was interrogating people in the, the committees, when they drag somebody in there to interrogate them, she seemed to do pretty well at that time. But since then, we haven't really seen that side of her. We've just seen her getting indignant with people, why can't the Biden administration do? Oh, well, actually, the Biden administration has done a really good job. Frankly, I can't believe you would say that. That's ridiculous. We've done a great job. What are you talking about? That attitude is not going to beat Donald Trump in a debate. And I think a lot of the people who are saying she'd be better than Biden, yeah, she might be a little bit better than Biden, but I'm not sure that she's going to she wouldn't be able to beat him. I don't know that she would. So I think a lot of these people saying, oh, Kamala is infinitely better than Biden. I'm not sure she would be against Trump. My overall theory, I think, of the whole concept here is that, like, sorry, that's kind of a weird way to put it, I suppose, but I think that after the 2008 financial crisis, the American people have been in the mood for some sort of radical populist economic message, which the Democrats were unable or unwilling to provide. They rat fucked Bernie Sanders both times, and they put it, why can't we have Hillary? Oh, Hillary lost, we got Trump instead. Oh, Bernie again. How about we rat fuck Bernie a second time? And here's Joe Biden, a man whose enthusiasm is a mile wide and an inch deep, and the second he becomes unpopular, there's going to be nobody passionately fighting for him, really. It looks like we're going to lose again. Oh well. The answer now is Kamala Harris. She's not a radical, economic populist for the American people. Gavin Newsom, I see no evidence that that's what he is. They keep saying we need somebody who looks like a good politician, somebody who gives good speeches, like Gretchen Whitmer. What does Gretchen Whitmer believe? I don't know very much. I don't think anybody knows very much. Half the people on cable news, if you ask Joe Scarborough, what are Gretchen Whitmer's beliefs on this policy, this policy, this policy, this policy, aside from just saying basically boilerplate Democratic answers, I don't know that he could even answer what her positions are on these things with any degree of specificity. But it doesn't matter to the party, right? They just want somebody who looks like the part, looks the part. And I think as long as the Democratic Party suppresses the economic populist message and policies, we're going to keep winding up in these situations where a crazy radical Republican who, talks a good game or something for some people, but doesn't actually have any policies to really help them, is going to be plausible and advantaged in a way.
Going back to the assassination thing, you sent me the video of the 1974 South Korean one. I hadn't heard of that one before. Maybe you could explain a little bit about that one for people that haven't heard about that.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah. Okay. So there was well, I mean, there's a lot of assassination attempts that happen against authoritarian and fascist leaders. I mean, there's a lot of assassination attempts on any politician, I guess, of any real import. But, I was just doing some quick research and stuff. And like, I think they say Hitler had about like 20 assassination plots or attempts on him. I think Mussolini had like 42 or something. I may be mixing up my numbers. Ferdinand Franco had like 20 or something like that. There are a lot of these assassination attempts and stuff, against these kinds of leaders, and very frequently, I think they drum up the passions and the violent rhetoric and everything, and it tends to reverberate in this way. I think an Irish woman shot Benito Mussolini in the nose and clipped his nose, and this was in 1926, and he continued giving a speech. I mean, everybody's saying Trump looks tough after this, but actually the measure of a true authoritarian strongman is somebody attacks you, you narrowly avoid a bullet or you get clipped by a bullet, but you still continue giving your speech.
Wasn't that a thing with Teddy Roosevelt too? He got shot while delivering a speech as well.
I believe that did happen. So, and well, with the 1974 assassination attempt against South Korean dictator Bak Chung-hee, he was giving a speech, and his wife was in the row behind him at that time, and he was giving the speech, and when he got to the part where he was talking about, I think, North Korea and South Korea relations at that time, a Zainichi, I think it's called a Zainichi or something. It's basically a Korean Japanese citizen. Basically a Japanese person in Japan of Korean origin. And this guy was, he had extreme left-wing views. He was very sympathetic to North Korea, and he had come to South Korea somehow and had a gun, .38 caliber, and he went during the beginning of that part of the speech, he jumped up and tried to pull out the gun, apparently maybe shot himself in the thigh or something during the process, but then was able to get off some shots at the podium. And Park Chung-hee ducked down behind the thing. The South Korean security response, when they returned fire, they killed a high school girl who was in the choir or the chorus or something that was in the front of the rows there to perform music during this event, and she was killed. And the assassin actually accidentally shot Park Chung-hee's wife in the head. Her head rolled back, and she was taken to the hospital after the guy was subdued. And Park Chung-hee then continued his speech. He finished his speech before he went to the hospital to check on his wife, and she died about 8 hours later.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, he was killed in 1979. I believe he was assassinated in 1979 by the head of the Korean CIA.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, his daughter, Park Geun-hye, was the president a couple of years ago who was impeached.
Yeah, I remember
after
that.
the 2014 Sewol-ho ship sinking that killed a bunch of high school kids here.
Mm.
But she survived an assassination attempt too. Somebody attacked her with a knife and tried to cut her throat. Didn't fully succeed. Within the past 6 months or so, there was an assassination attempt in the city of Busan on Lee Jae-myung, the former, I believe it was the governor of Gyeonggi-do, the province I'm in, who's a pretty far left-wing politician. He was stabbed in the neck with a knife by another citizen. So there's, there's political violence all around the world now. The question is, does America really want to go back to this?
Right.
And I don't know, we don't know what this 20-year-old kid believed. What was his name? Like Christopher Michael.
It was the three names as usual.
Yeah. Well, I imagine they do that because they want to differentiate that person from anybody else who happens to share those two names. So it's like, no, we really, really want to be very specific with who this person was. So serial killers and assassins, they always get the three names.
Matthew Thomas Crook is the name.
Okay. At this point, we don't really know exactly what he believed. We don't know why he did this. I heard something, again, these are all rumors on Twitter, but some people said there was a high school shooting club, but he tried to join, but he was not allowed to join the shooting club because they deemed he was too dangerous or something. And whether they meant like he was an irresponsible shooter or whether they meant his political views and stuff were too extreme, I don't know exactly what that means, but they didn't seem to trust him with a gun in high school, perhaps. So, maybe 2 years after his graduation, he figures, hey, I'll prove those guys wrong in high school. I'll go hit the president. And he damn near did. So, again, a lot of these things are unconfirmed, but what I do understand is he did this shot without a scope. So he was doing iron sights on this.
I see.
And, a lot of people say that this was not a particularly long shot for somebody with any training.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are saying he's a terrible shot. I don't know that that's the case. Like, from what I understand, people had been shouting about he was up on the building and a police officer had gone to investigate and stuck his head up over the side of the building. He turned around and pointed the gun at the guy, and the guy went back down. Probably if the police officer had gone back down and fired a shot in the air, at that point, the whole thing would have been shut down and it would have been over in a second. But
yeah,
at that point, his time scale escalated a lot, and he just went ahead, turned around, and took a few shots, and it was all over in about a few seconds after that, basically. But to say that he was a bad shot, he had just been exposed. He knew there was a police officer down there with a gun pursuing him, perhaps, and his cover was blown. And then he still made a shot that probably would have taken Trump's head off if Trump had not turned to look at the immigration statistics thing that he'd stuck up at the rally there.
Right. Well, and kind of going back to what you were saying about the politicians continuing the speech afterwards, I think there was a lot of chatter online that it would look staged. But I just feel like Trump is such, he's a creature of the media first and foremost, and he knows the power of an image. And I think the second he realized that he wasn't hurt or killed, the threat was neutralized. I think he was like, all right, he was like immediately into campaign mode. How does this look? Get the image.
He doesn't want to look, he never wants to look weak.
No, and it was like he was like, oh, babe, massive opportunity for, you know what I mean, the fist pumping in the fight, you know what I mean, like he was on that immediately. He understood the assignment right away, and that I attribute that to just him having the instincts of somebody who's been in the public eye for decades now, and he knows exactly what to do to make himself look best in this moment. So
yeah, well, he knows. I mean, he knows his audience too, and
oh,
the
sure.
response was electric. Obviously, you can't watch that and not say that he doesn't look kind of badass, right? Like, I mean, you'd be intellectually dishonest to say that. I mean, he's got blood dripping off his face. He sticks his fist up. He pumps his fist, and a lot of people, oh, I can't believe he put himself and his security at risk to do. He has a different job than his security.
Yeah, right.
His security has to keep him safe. He has to get himself elected. Like,
no, I think some of the photojournalism I've seen of that day is going to go down with, you know, raising the flag on Iwo Jima in terms of like iconography. You know, it's like, and did you see that there was one photo of the bullet itself that they got?
Yeah, flying behind him.
Amazing.
Yeah,
like those images are going to be, you know, seared into the public imagination forever. You know,
and you've got to wonder about things like the JFK assassination. What if we'd had the kind of photography and skill and journalistic access to back then that we did today? We probably would have. There probably wouldn't be. I don't want to say there wouldn't be conspiracy theories, because there's already a million conspiracy theories about Trump, but like, it would have been much more well documented, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I agree.
So, yeah. So but we don't know why this kid did this. Voters have seen a complete lack of urgency from Joe Biden for the past 4 years. He didn't want to stack the Supreme Court again after the Republicans had effectively done that.
Mm-hmm.
He abided by the Senate parliamentarians' ruling about what he could and couldn't do. This was not a person who was acting like this was an imminent threat to democracy, and now here we are. And he's like, "Oh, just vote for me again, guys. Come on, we'll do better next time. We promise." Based on what? We've seen no evidence of that the past 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
He never understood the threat. He never took the threat seriously. He wanted to play buddy-buddy with the centrists and the Republicans and bipartisan legislation where he could and all this crap. And in the meantime, we've had creeping fascism sneaking up on us the whole time. Some of us have been aware of it. The president was not. That's an absolute knock on his competency.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's a mess, and I just don't know why they keep learning the lesson that, you know, oh, we've been. I think it's because they thought they learned a lesson from Bill Clinton, right? Because like he was the centrist, New Democrat governing from the middle, and he was able to win after the Democrats being, you know, lost at sea since Jimmy Carter, you know, and so the lesson that everyone seems to have learned is, oh, we've got to tack to the middle. You know, when, you know, instead of just explaining why they're championing the already popular policies of people like we've talked about, like Bernie Sanders, and like, you know, that's something they never seem to understand. It's like every time it's like, oh, we can't lose and it's like the Republicans are going to vote for Republicans. Okay. Most people in the middle, quote unquote, if you explain to them, you know, kind of left policies on policy by policy basis, they usually agree. But it's like they can't figure out how to capitalize on that. I think
they do until it gets to implementation. Once you start trying to implement it, and then it's like, oh, well, we'll have to raise taxes here. There may be some backsliding on that, but broadly, yeah, when you state leftist policies divorced from, you know, the party that's advocating them,
exactly.
Yeah, they do seem to enjoy popularity. So.
But for some reason they can't figure out how to capitalize on that, even though on the issues they're in step with majority opinion. They're just so timid about everything. Meanwhile, Republicans have minority opinions, but that doesn't stop them from implementing them. It's never has. Like, they're just like, whatever Dick Cheney said, it's like, we'll make the history and you can sit by and watch, or whatever he said. You know, they don't care. They're going to ram it through because they're going to, you know, push it over the goal line, whether it's popular or not. And they're going to make it popular if it's not already, just by renaming everything. I don't know. I could go on, but It's just Democrats never seem to learn this lesson, and it's very frustrating to see.
Yeah, I think that, I think a lot of people, a lot of Americans, and a lot of people broadly, I think, but some of these are particular to America. They, I don't know, they think in absolute terms about certain things, okay, and they don't really examine why they think these things. Okay, free speech is good. What do you mean? Always? Is it always good? Why is free speech good? What's the alternative? What are some other examples? Strong leader. Fascist iconography is always bad. Okay, why is it bad? When is it bad? Is it always bad? Like, have there been times where a country needed to project strength and that was appealing to everybody for some reason? Like, as much as we say, Trump is bad and he is a fascist, frankly, I think we need a little bit more left-wing fascism right now. We need a leader on the left who is strong. Frankly, I think it would make the right respect it more. If they realize they've got a tough guy on the left, they're going to be less like, oh, we follow Alpha Trump, we don't follow Beta Cuck Joe Brandon. Like if Joe Brandon was the true Dark Brandon that they pretend he is, he would actually ironically be getting more respect from the right, probably.
Yeah. I've said for years that I wish the Democrats were the Democrats that the Republicans keep warning us about. It's like they keep portraying them as these like dictatorial, authoritarian. It's like, and meanwhile, it's like you just have these mealy mouthed Republican in a bad suit people. When in reality, it's like, hey, I was told that they were more like this. Where's that guy?
Yeah. Well, I'm not even joking. I think that they, I think to avoid, and you can say, oh, well, wouldn't that just make us just as bad as the Republicans? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's bad for who? If the Republicans get in, it's bad for non-Christians, probably. It's bad for Muslims. It's bad for immigrants. Bad for black people. And you can make an argument, oh, no, it'll be good for the economy. So, a rising tide floats all boats or whatever. But, there will be winners and losers, depending on which party takes more strong dictatorial power. If the left wing gets in, who is that bad for? Well, I don't know. Arguably, perhaps red states, non-college educated whites may or may not, there's the idea that they're always voting against their own interests. In some cases, I think that may be true. In some cases, I think it's a little bit overblown, and I'm not sure the left understands some of the interests. But I don't know. I think if it takes a left-wing authoritarian to defeat right-wing authoritarianism, that may still not be not worth it. To use a double negative, I guess. That still may be worth the thing. Also, we talk about, like I said, free speech. Okay, free speech is important. Why? What evidence do you have that free speech is important? What evidence do you have that free speech is even respected, even by people who talk about free speech? Have you been following the Destiny versus Elon Musk drama on Twitter the past 2 days?
He's endorsed Trump, I saw.
Who, Elon Musk? Yeah. Well, yeah, no, but Destiny, you've been following that?
The what?
Destiny, the political streamer, debate bro.
No, I missed that.
Bob, sometimes I think you're critically out of touch with the discourse these days.
But I read the Washington Post.
Okay, boomer. Okay, well, I can't really describe who Destiny is then if you don't know it all. But he had been making some jokes about the death of the man who had died at the rally, and everybody was tweeting Elon Musk like, oh, Elon, look, he made this joke about this poor dead firefighter who was just trying to protect his family. It's not fair. You need to demonetize his account and kick him off Twitter and da 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 da. And so Elon Musk started making some noises like he might do that. And then they had a debate on a Twitter space or something with Elon Musk coming in there, claiming he was not Elon Musk. He said he was not Elon Musk, but it was very clear that it was Elon Musk basically debating him and stuff. So But again, he's like, he's basically like just pearl clutching. Like, do we have to make jokes? I mean, a man died. I mean, can't we just, isn't it terrible? I mean, shouldn't we? And it's like, Destiny has flirted back and forth. Some people call him a liberal. He's conservative on some issues. He hasn't been very good on Israel, Palestine, frankly, in the past 6 months or so, although he thinks he's done a lot of research. But he basically is throwing it back in his face. Like, no, like, when George Floyd dies, we've got right wingers celebrating it and saying, oh, this was basically an assisted suicide anyways. And he did the drugs, so he deserved to die and all this, or what, whatever. We've got all anytime like a black person gets killed by somebody, Republicans are gleeful about it. They're absolutely overjoyed. They don't hide it at all. Anytime there's violence against left wingers or anybody perceived to be, a group that's sympathetic to the left wing or something, Republicans have made no bones about the fact that they think it's hilarious, funny, meme worthy, etc. So he's just like, what if we, as Democrats, as left wing people, what if we take the gloves off and go the other way? And Elon Musk starts debating about, oh, should we really have nuked Japan and all this stuff? And he starts talking about other things. He's like, I want to talk about the tone. I don't want to talk about politics, but he keeps getting dragged back to politics in this debate. And he, he's one of these people. The idea that you can discuss this kind of thing without talking about politics is a very particular conceit to a certain type of person.
Like free speech.
Do you know
about what?
Do you know Vosh?
Who?
Vosh?
I've heard that name before. Yes.
Okay, so Vosh came out of Destiny's community, so they're kind of connected there.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah.
Huh.
But I mean, the point is, like, at the end of the day, as much of if you were to ask who is the person who's the most strongly in favor of free speech, a lot of people in America wrongly would say Elon Musk. But the fact is, he's demonetizing Destiny's Twitter account at this point because he doesn't like the fact that he made jokes about a dead Republican who died supporting Trump. And, this guy's also made a lot of disgusting posts about Palestinians getting killed and about other things happening and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. His last tweet was apparently on that guy Cat Turd's thing. He said, I'm going to Trump's thing in Pennsylvania today or something. And then boom, an elderly woman in my old hometown of Asheville, North Carolina was assaulted I think during the 2016 campaign at a Trump rally. People getting dragged out of Trump rallies for protesting, people getting assaulted. There's been violence all around this thing for years and years and years. So to pretend that started at Trump's speech the other day, it's absurd.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable, obviously, having the kind of violence we had in the 1960s in America. It's not a good thing. It's not a good step. But to pretend that the Republicans haven't been begging for it for the past 8 years is also ridiculous, I think. Mm-hmm. When Paul Pelosi was assaulted, Joe Biden and his fucking spawn were out there, gleefully, oh, he was being gay with that man. It was a gay lover's tryst or something. He just got hit with a hammer. Maybe it was a sadomasochistic thing or something, all kinds of absurdities. No responsibility, a public figure gets assaulted by a crazed lunatic. Where's the sympathy from the right? Where's the respect? There was none. So don't be a hypocrite at this late date. Not that I, particularly care about Nancy Pelosi too much, but that was a ridiculous assault.
Mm-hmm.
Inexcusable.
Yeah. But do you judge yourself based on the worst of someone else?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, is that who we want to be? Like, you want to just say, oh, they did it, so we can do it too,
I'm saying if we don't do it, we're going to lose. If you bring a knife to a gunfight, you're going to lose. And that's what the Democrats have been desperately attempting to do for years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think rhetorically, again, this comes back to things we've talked about, taking the high road, trying to be a better example for the people. They go low, we go high. It never worked. It didn't work. It hasn't worked. It's a bankrupt concept at this point. So I'm just, re-examining the thing about, what do they say? Like respectability politics, free speech, anti-authoritarianism, left wing versus right wing. I think there's a lot of concepts that people instinctively support without really considering why they support them. Some things are taken as just a very foundational bedrock of American thought, and a lot of people just don't really examine them. It's annoying. It's again, it's red on red violence. They're going to try to blame, Joe Biden said Trump's a fascist and that's why a Republican shot Trump. Apparently, it's absurd. It's a lie.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
There's no connection between that I've seen. So,
like, the thing is, okay, he didn't leave a note and he didn't have a social media presence. You're telling me you can't get on his phone and look up his YouTube watch history, who he's been watching on YouTube?
His phone is locked. That's one thing I have heard.
Okay.
So as usual, they're having trouble accessing it because I've written about this in the past, but law enforcement wants to break down the encryption to get into the phone because there's a passcode, I guess. But Apple, in the past, has denied that request, and I don't know if they found a way around it because I forget who else. Maybe it was Dylan Roof or something that they were trying to get in his phone. I don't remember who it was, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's if he was ever on public Wi-Fi or something, IP addresses. Again, I'm not a tech guy, but again, and this is always the thing. It's always this balancing act between law enforcement wanting access to our private information, using the worst case scenarios. It's a child molester. It's domestic terrorism. But then, of course, they use it for like small town, like drug bust or some bullshit or whatever. Like they overreach their power. And then, people don't trust Apple. Apple's shares go down and Apple's like, okay, we can't allow the government to. Our credibility rests on us not giving governments the power to just watch people's phones 24/7 necessarily. And here, I do think I want to say there should be an exception for cases like this. But at the same time, every time there's an exception, it gets abused, right? So it's just like, at the end of the day, if the law enforcement really, really, really wants the access at times like these, they have to stop abusing it in every other situation when it's not a life and death, history altering event. You can't keep doing like small town ecstasy bust or something. I don't know. I'm just throwing that example out there.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I would be remiss if we didn't also talk about J.D. Vance being the new VP candidate. What do you think about that, Joe?
I don't know. I don't really care. I mean, years and years ago, I think my mom sent me his book, The Hillbilly Elegy or something. And I didn't read it. And then, then they made the movie, and then, it got weird reviews, and everybody, again, like, I don't know. What is it? The small town boy from the Appalachians winds up going to Harvard and turns his life around, and, look how we started, now we hear, whatever, the Drake of it all. And then he went totally nutso, and he became this Republican. At first, he was a never Trumper, but then, of course, like every never Trumper tempted by power, he became a Trumper. And my mom had told me at some point during these conversations about, oh my God, I can't believe I sent you this clown's book. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm sure I still got his stupid book kicking around here somewhere. And it's it's not a concept that I'm unsympathetic with or whatever. I grew up in the Appalachians for 10 years. Within my nuclear family, I'm the first one to have graduated from university. I mean, like, everybody's got a story. We didn't all go to Harvard and become a Republican politician. So I'm okay with the way things went for me. So, yeah. What do you think about J.D. Vance?
Oh, it's just an amazing arc. He in 2016 called Trump America's Hitler, and now he's running right alongside him as the biggest sycophant. Amazing. Hey, why didn't the last vice president get chosen? What happened with him? I forget.
Yeah. There's no memory. Almost nobody from Trump's original run is still around. Most of them are screaming and most of them have lost their law license, been to jail, been disgraced publicly, and the smarter of them now say he should never be anywhere near power again. But they've just got Trump derangement syndrome, according to the supporters. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, lots of that going on. Yeah, I don't know. What have you been watching lately to follow all this stuff?
We've been watching The Bear. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, I mean politically, but okay, yeah.
Go.
I saw season 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
No, we can
I
keep
saw
talking about
season 1.
politics, but what do you mean watching what?
Oh, just like like CNN, MSNBC, or like whatever on YouTube or whoever, the Young Turks, the Majority Report, like Tim Pool, where are you?
Oh,
where are you at on this?
Yeah, I don't actually watch any of that kind of stuff. I listen to the New York Times and Washington Post podcasts pretty much. That's most of how I get my news diet. So,
very, very mainstream.
very mainstream. No,
I don't know.
I don't actually go. Even though I am part of the alternative media, I suppose I don't really consume all that much of it.
Do you worry you're missing anything?
Oh, I'm sure I'm missing things. I have no doubt I'm missing things. I have only so much time in the day, though. So.
Yeah. No, yeah, I watched the first season of The Bear. I liked it a lot. When I started trying to watch the second season, though, I just got really I don't know, annoyed or frustrated with them because it's just such a sad sack story for so much of the beginning of the second season, right? It's just like, oh, poor us. Oh, our lives are hard. I don't know. Maybe it gets better in season 3. I'm curious I need to just power through season 2 to get to season 3, but I am curious where it goes.
Yeah, season 2 was a lot of waiting around for them to reopen the restaurant and stuff. So it felt like kind of a holding pattern season in a lot of ways. So yeah, I can see how you get frustrated, but yeah, I think it's a good show. I think they know how to jack up the tension on a minute by minute basis for sure. So, yeah, I appreciate it for that. It's not a very relaxing show to watch. Definitely has my anxiety jacked up when I watched it, but
okay. Yeah, I would strongly recommend the show Severance. Have you been able to see that? I think that's Apple TV Plus. I put it as the best show of 2022.
No, is that the Ben Stiller one?
Yeah. It's remarkably good. I recently rewatched it. It's incredibly good.
I haven't seen one yet. I remember you were talking about that last time you were here.
Yeah, season 2 is coming in January 2025, I believe. So it's incredible. We've been waiting for 3 years for the next season. So yeah, but it's well worth it though. That again, season 1, I rewatched it and it is still a banger. I think I was totally right about that one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Anyways, yeah, so the politics and stuff. Well, anyways, yeah, I don't know. It's been a crazy day, busy day over here and everything. So I was trying to organize and synthesize a lot of information about the politics and stuff and the assassination attempt and stuff. And I think towards the end of the day, it all got a little jumbled in my brain somewhat, but yeah. So I'm afraid that the Democrats are basically heading towards a very predictable loss here. I think, yeah, Biden just can't stop making mistakes every time he opens his mouth in public. He looks ridiculous. I don't know whose idea it was to give him a fake tan or whatever before his Stephanopoulos interview. I think Stephanopoulos was asking reasonably good questions and pushing, but he was determined, there's nothing wrong here,
Yeah, well, I haven't watched the whole Stephanopoulos thing yet, but the one answer that I thought was just appalling was where he said, "What will you do if you don't win?" And he's like, "Well, no, I gave it the old college try. I did my best." It's like,
yeah. I did as long as I did my goodest job or whatever he said. That
it was even worse than that. My goodest job. My goodness.
And if you stay in and Trump is elected and everything you're warning about comes to pass, how will you feel in January?
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do. That's what this is about.
This is, and the right always talks about, there's no participation trophies. Yeah, that's something the president should understand here. this is not your right. I don't know. It's all absurd. And again, did you see the video I think I sent of I forget his name, the Republican politician who was saying basically that he basically admitted, he came out and said in multiple interviews on media that it was a Democratic insider conspiracy to rat fuck Bernie in 2020.
Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State, the top Democrat on the House Armed Services Committee. And Congressman, for the record, we usually have you here to talk pure policy and foreign policy and armed services, not politics. But this is a fraught moment in our democracy. Where are you on this issue? What's your message to President Biden and to your fellow Democrats?
Well, look, I think he should step aside. I think it's become clear that he's not the best person to carry the Democratic message. And here's the thing. We have an incredibly strong message and record to run on. And in all respect to the president, he's done a great job. Okay, when you look at where the economy was when he came in, how our economy dealt with COVID so much better than any other economy in the world, the progress that we're making, the unemployment rate, stock market. Look, there's a lot of work left to do. Housing's too expensive. Income inequality is still too great. But we've made progress on that too. That the lowest black unemployment, black poverty rate came under this president. I saw a report today in the New York Times that some of those, areas that have seen the manufacturing jobs flee are actually starting to get better. Okay, and then on the other side, you've got Donald Trump, who's a complete disaster. Project 2025 and his promise to cut taxes more for the rich and corporations while raising tariffs to tax poor people. We got a good message. The president has shown he is not capable of delivering that message in an effective way.
Just because, I shouldn't say just, because that 90-minute debate was a lot, but is this based entirely on that event? No.
There was concerns leading up to it in the terms of the president's ability to deliver a message, and it hasn't gotten better since the debate. The overall package shows we got a great message. I mean, when you looked at that debate, what all of us were feeling, my son who's in high school was, we should, sorry, he's in college now, but, any good debater could go back on what Donald Trump is saying. And so many missed opportunities were out there. And we want to deliver an effective message. And then there are the healthcare concerns. And look, a lot of Democrats are saying, well, let's move on. Let's stop talking about it. We're not the ones who are bringing it up. We're not the ones who said anytime, any place. And only Joe Biden was on that stage with Donald Trump. Our constituents are bringing it up. The country is bringing it up. And the White House, campaign strategy of be quiet and fall in line and let's ignore it simply isn't working right now.
One of your colleagues talked to me on Background and said that the problem with this issue with President Biden is, and I'm paraphrasing what this member of Congress said to me, is every American has seen this in their own life. Everybody knows what a confused older person who is struggling with cognition issues, what it's like. And it's not consistently 100% 24/7 like that, but it is a process.
Yeah, no, and look, the president, as I said, has done a very good job as president. We've got a great record to run on. He's just not able to deliver it right now. And the healthcare, and it's a distraction. We should be talking about the record. We should be talking about Trump. But you saw the press conference.
Yeah.
We're not the ones who are forcing it. And sorry, I got to make one other point.
Yeah.
So the president talked today about how now it's all the elites who are trying to force him out.
Right.
Let's remember what happened in 2020. Okay, the president did not run a great primary campaign. He lost badly in Iowa, New Hampshire, and Nevada. He came out of Nevada, and Bernie Sanders looked like the presumptive nominee. And this exact same group of people,
the elites,
that the president is now deriding as elites. And by the way, they're not. They're Democrats, okay? They're party operatives, they're donors, they're volunteers, decided, and to all the Bernie supporters out there, I'm not judging this positively or negatively, they decided they didn't want Bernie Sanders to be the nominee. They decided that Joe Biden would be the better nominee. And credit, again, to the president. He decided that because he did 8 years as vice president. He did the years in the Senate. He had the record to be a strong president. And so they, through their support behind Joe Biden, and Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren and Mike Bloomberg and Amy Klobuchar, and I may be forgetting a few others, stepped aside for the candidate who was better. This myth that somehow Joe Biden came in and rescued us, it has been a nationwide movement since Donald Trump was elected president. And in 2020, that nationwide movement said, Joe, you're the best guy, let's go. Right now, they don't think he is.
Obama reached out to Buttigieg and what was her name?
Are you talking about Amy Klobuchar?
Reached out to have them drop out before Super Tuesday or whatever to give Biden a win in South Carolina, which he may have been blunted a little bit if he hadn't had them drop out. So basically the mainstream Democrats have basically admitted that was what happened in 2016. So it's pretty rich for Joe Biden. I think at that point, the day before, had gone on Joe Scarborough with Mika and Joe, giving him a softball interview, even though, and like trying not to cringe as he sits there and talks rubbish and gibberish. And he tries to, I'm against the elites. I'm against the elites. He's trying to do the media and the Democratic Party elites want me to step down. He's trying to borrow a page from Trump's book.
So we noted yesterday there was quite a contrast to the people that were supporting you yesterday compared to, say, a lot of the Washington insiders and Hollywood moguls, and go down the list of very powerful people that want you out, compared to the support that you had in Pennsylvania yesterday. That said, there are a lot of people of goodwill who love you, who believe you did a great job in your first term, who are still concerned. Yesterday, the topic came up of the Stephanopoulos interview, where you were asked the question, how would you feel if Donald Trump beat you? How would you feel after you lost? And you said, well, as long as I did the best I could do, that's the most important thing. That's caused Democrats concern, who believe that losing is not an option. What would you say to those who are concerned by that answer?
It's not an option, and I've not lost. I haven't lost. I beat him last time. I'll beat him this time. And this is a guy who, look, we talk about debates. Look at his performance with debates. He lied over, Trump has 50 lies. Look, this is a guy who says 10% of the universe. I don't want to get into it. He's just a liar. And he hasn't done a damn thing since the debate. He's been riding around in a golf cart for 10 days, was down in Mar-a-Lago talking with his wealthy friends. I'm not running because of these guys, Joe. I'm running because, and you know me well enough to know this from the very beginning, I ran because I never bought on to the trickle-down economic theory. I never bought into the notion that we have to walk away from the rest of the world and cave to Putin or anybody else. I've never believed any of that. And I'm confident that's where the American people are. So what I did was I went out and I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any slippage at all. And with the average voter, I don't care what the millionaires think. And by the way, 97% of all the people who contribute to us are people making under 200, contributing under $200. I think we have the largest contingent ever in history. I'm not positive of that, but I think that's true. And so I want their support, but that's not the reason I'm running. I'm not running about what they think and what they care about. And by the way, you don't see a whole hell of a lot of them flocking to Trump. You don't see a whole lot of CEOs flocking to Trump. You don't see you see the major economists out there talking about what I have been able to do. I don't hear anybody talking about his economic plan likely to bring America around and keep America first. And by the way, here's Trump talking about all that he's done and Trump and his debate night. He's a pathological liar. He lied about Roe. He refused to accept the outcome of the election. He refused to condemn January 6th. And he says, they claim, he spoke with Putin before he invaded. What the hell are we doing, Joe? What are we doing? This is bizarre.
And so this other guy in the Democratic Party is saying, hey, it's the elites in 2020 who put you on the ticket and you were not chosen because you could beat Donald Trump necessarily. You were chosen because you could beat Bernie Sanders. You'll have to maybe splice in some clips from that interview.
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. Yeah.
So, I think the frustrating thing here also with the Democratic Party is they are fighting the left-wing flank of the party at the expense of popularity, right? Like, we're not necessarily going with who would be the best candidate, who would be best positioned to win. They think they know what's better than the voters. But what they keep choosing is not better. Again, Hillary Clinton was not better against Donald Trump. Joe Biden eked it out in 2020, but his support was a mile wide and an inch deep. And now that he's made some controversial decisions, And who's the guy from South Carolina? You know who I'm
Tim
talking
Scott.
about? The one who, huh?
Tim Scott.
No, the guy who was very instrumental, I think, in the Congressional Black Caucus.
You're talking about what's his name? James Clyburn.
Yeah. I'm about tired of having him on TV and hearing his opinion. Like, more than many people in the Democratic Party, I think he's the reason we got Joe Biden, with all the attendant risks and problems. And Joe Biden has been losing black support to Trump at a rate never before seen by a Democratic politician anywhere, I think. So it's like, I think the CBC leadership came out and supported Biden, and I'm just like, I don't know. As a Democrat, you don't want to pick a fight with the CBC. African Americans in America have been some of the most loyal Democratic voters ever. But sometimes I question their judgment about what's the best way to go within the party and who to choose, and what that person's long-term appeal and effectiveness will be, and the costs when that person is not effective, inevitably, what the cost of that's going to be for all of us too.
Yeah.
So it's very frustrating.
Well, it's so bad now that I read something the other day that New York is almost being considered a battleground state. Can you believe that?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, upstate is pretty red from what I understand, but yeah. I mean, it shouldn't be in play.
It shouldn't matter at all.
Yeah. Well, I think, unfortunately, I think what we've seen in the past year, I think Joe Biden more or less could have coasted if the Israel-Palestine thing hadn't happened, if his cognitive decline had not become as evident as it has been, and quite frankly, if he hadn't been so gung-ho about the Israel-Palestine support, the support of Israel unquestioningly about all that stuff, I would have been willing to overlook a lot of the stuff with the debate. I would, I'd be more if he really had a plan for things like college debt, medical bill reduction, prescription drug price reduction, supporting public schools, supporting unions. All that stuff is quite good. The fact that he basically enabled what I would say is at least ethnic cleansing and possibly genocide means that I don't really, I don't have a lot of passion to support him. I don't have a lot of, gumption to get out there and, whatever, canvas or put up a strong fight for him or anything like that. As I understand, a lot of African Americans also have a different view than Biden on that issue too. So that may have cost him there as well. I'm curious what Kamala Harris's position on that would be. Although I imagine if she became the candidate, she would basically have to continue on with Biden's policies, more or less. I don't know how much she would even be able to deviate from them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there'd be a big policy difference. It would just be a new face on the same thing. So
I'd like to think she could moderate a little bit on that issue, but I have a feeling within the Democratic Party there are going to be some loyalty pledges she's going to have to make before they even commit to making her the nominee over as a replacement. Although, again, we're well past this. I think it's already the moment is over. We're as the Biden old meme from 2020, which may have been incorrect then, said, like, it's Biden in his sports car with his sunglasses on saying, "Get in, loser. We got an election to lose." So I think we're at that point now.
yeah, I hate the attitude of being resigned to lose. I never feel like the Republicans would do that. I just don't feel like they would just be like sitting on their hands and just waiting for November. It's like, well, if what's happening is not working, let's try the other way. Maybe you don't like it, but try something different. It couldn't be worse than what's happening now, right? So try something else.
Well, I've been hearing from people. I've heard from a lot of people that I think during 1996 with the Bob Dole, they could tell that Bob Dole was not going to win, and they began removing funding from his campaign and putting it towards the congressional Republicans at that time. So, but again, that was before the modern Republican Party as we know it under the Trumpistas. So. Yeah, I think the modern Republican Party is not discouraged by many things, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So what did you think when you with the assassination attempt and all that? Any other thoughts on that one? Or?
Yeah, well, it was funny because I never get to take a nap ever, and I was actually taking a nap when that happened, and I like woke up and it was like the meme of Donald Glover coming back into the room and everything's on fire. It's like it's like I'd never a less opportune time to drop out of the world for a few hours. And I watch politics pretty closely, but it's like, okay, well, the earth-shattering events happens the one time I'm not paying attention.
Yeah, well, I had some drinks the night before it and stuff, and I woke up with a slight hangover. It was too early to really wake up, but I just, woke up without my glasses and blearily looked at my phone. It's like I saw a notification, Donald Trump has been shot at his rally, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'm awake now. I'm up for the next 15 hours just to follow this and see what the hell happens. So, yeah. I do think there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, and I really wish people would stop trying to go down the conspiracy theory hole with all this stuff. Like, they wanted to do it. Like, who? Biden wanted to kill him? So it doesn't make sense. Like, so they sent a 20-year-old without a scope. Come on. Then we've heard, oh no, Trump wanted to make himself look at who benefits. Trump wanted to make himself look like the martyr. So he had a guy shoot a bullet less than an inch away from his skull. Are you kidding? No, that's that's not how they would do this. So, I really, I think that people who get into conspiracy theories, it's because they have a certain immaturity or a lack of ability to deal with reality as it is. And it's predictable but annoying to watch everybody go down those rabbit holes on Twitter.
Yeah, I just don't know why it's so unbelievable to people that a 20-year-old white male in an open carry state would, you know what I mean, do this. It's like,
Bob, why would he shoot a Republican?
What's that?
Why would he shoot a Republican?
Well, that's, to be determined. I don't know. We'll get there. But, it's like the facts that we know don't seem that out of, the realm of possibility to me.
Yeah.
Who knows? I don't know why he would do that. But, the facts on the ground seem plausible to me so far. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, stand not amazed, to quote Shakespeare. I think this is what's going on. Don't try to complicate it, more than it needs to be. So, but I'm curious what's going to happen when they talk to the parents, the other students. Like, I saw an interview with one of his classmates from his high school or something, and it was a terrible interview. It was just like, he got bullied. You know how it goes. He was bullied at school. It was really, sad to see, but you know how it goes. And the reporter's like, oh, yeah, so he was bullied. It's like, there's no, what was he bullied for specifically? Who bullied him? What were his beliefs? What did he think? What behaviors did he have? There were no questions like this. It was just kind of like talking to some, recent high school graduate about, the situation. It's like, there's so many questions you could be asking this kid to find out more. What are your political beliefs? What were his political beliefs if you knew them? Like, was he political? A lot of stuff like that. The gun club. What happened with the gun club? Was there a gun club actually at your school? So, have you seen? You haven't seen?
I'm sure we'll know more in the coming days. But yeah, I think there's a lot of questions I'd like to have answered like that. So.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it'll be. I think the father declined to comment. Until he was interviewed by the police or something. And then I think I saw the police were raiding his house at night or something. I heard something that there may have been explosive materials at his house and in his car.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm also curious if there was a note or something, would they even release it? Sometimes they don't want to give anybody any, credibility for what they were believing or something. So sometimes school shooters suicide manifesto or something never publicly gets released. So I wonder if it could be that kind of a situation. Again, here I am going into the conspiracy theories, but Yeah, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot that could be known. Again, I think YouTube channel would be one thing. What he was watching on YouTube could tell us a lot.
Well, he was
we don't.
wearing a T-shirt, I guess, from a YouTube gun channel. I don't know that
Okay,
they're
well, there's
specifically radical gun channel, but they are a channel that reviews guns and stuff. So.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's all. That could be stuff that could be pursued. I'm sure they're doing it already.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, insofar as I could give any kind of an endorsement to Joe Biden at this point, you can sit there and be angry. Oh my God, Donald Trump's a victim. Oh my God, they tried to kill him. The deep state's against him. And you could do that, or you could say Donald Trump was fucking crazy for 4 years. Over the preceding 3 years, we've kind of forgotten how fucking crazy he was. This is a reminder that this is the show that he's bringing back to town, including political violence this time. Is this really the road we want to go down again? Do we really want to do this almost all the way up to 2030? Do we want to spend 14 years living with the Donald Trump show, from 2016 to 2030 almost? Is this really the road that we want to go down? And yeah, the Democrats have been criminally incompetent by trying to keep these, octogenarians or whatever in power long past their sell-by date. But is it really a hanging offense at this point? So, and I saw something like yesterday. I happened to be walking past the TV, which was on CNN at work or something, and the headline says Joe Biden apologizes for saying the word. What did he say? He was talking about Trump, and he said something about putting a
target on him or something.
Yeah, putting a bullseye on him.
Let's talk about the conversation this has started, and it's really about language, what we say out loud and the consequences of those. You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing. Focus on his policies. Focus on the number of lies he told in the debate. There's a whole range of things that, look, I'm not the guy that said I want to be a dictator on day one. I'm not the guy that refused to accept the outcome of the election. I'm not the guy who said that one accept the outcome of this election automatically. You can't only love your country when you win. And so the focus was on what he's saying and, the idea.
But have you taken a step back and done a little soul searching on things that you may have said that could incite people who are not balanced?
Well, I don't think, look, how do you talk about the threat to democracy, which is real, when a president says things like he says? Do you just not say anything because it may incite somebody? Look, I have not engaged in that rhetoric. Now, my opponent is engaged in that rhetoric. He talks about there'll be a bloodbath if he loses, talking about how he's going to forgive all the, I guess, suspend the sentences of all those who were arrested and sentenced to go to jail because of what happened in the Capitol. I'm not out there making fun of, remember the picture of Donald Trump when Nancy Pelosi's husband was hit with a hammer, joking about it?
And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, Biden, Jesus fucking, what have you done now? Who were you talking to this time? How in the world do you say that, we can't do this? You're trying, you have not made one single public appearance that made you look competent. And this is the kind of crap you're saying. And now you're having to apologize for it after the guy gets shot. Okay, I almost don't want to even blame the conspiracy theorists at this point, because if this is what he's saying public, Joe Biden said there was a bullseye on Trump, and then he, it's almost not even that much of a stretch. So this lazy language of him, and then the constant, oh, sorry, I screwed up again. Oh, geez.
Yeah,
You
there's
know,
just something very Trumpy also about being, I'm the only one that can fix it. And,
yeah,
I only
yeah,
me, and I'm going to call into Morning Joe from the White House and give a rambling phone interview. Who does that sound like?
yeah, yeah, and I'm the only one who's ever beat Donald Trump in an
Right.
election. Okay, from the bipartisan perspective, you're one of only two people who's ever run against him. Yeah, okay, congratulations. But Bernie had good polling against him too. Frankly, after COVID-19 and after Donald Trump caught COVID and RBG died and everything in the last month, and they rammed through their Supreme Court pick, probably almost any Democrat could have beat him. This is not a unique Joe Biden ability to beat Donald Trump at that time, I think. So, yeah, I mean, if anything, Joe Biden has made himself look more and more Trumpy in the last few weeks than ever with the only I can fix it. I'm the only one who could beat him. Yeah, the elites are trying to take me out, but I'm, appealing to the voters or whatever directly. It's I don't know. It's very, you can see it happening before your eyes.
Yeah, I just don't like, I always kind of gave the Democrats respect for not falling for that kind of thing, and it's just disappointing to see it coming from that side. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to the emperor has no clothes thing from the Republicans at this point. That's expected, but like, come on, really, with this guy too? Like, we're gonna pretend everything's fine? Like, and I've also grown weary, excuse me, of the people trying to call back to, oh, they tried to swift boat John Kerry, and they tried to say Hillary was having, a medical emergency and stuff. And it's like, those were completely fabricated, ginned up things by the right. You can't tell people that what they're seeing is what they're not seeing in terms of his cognitive decline. Like, it's real. I'm not saying that this is real. You can't lie to people about what they're seeing with their own eyes, and it's like, you can't be like, oh, this is all manufactured. He's great. He's fine. It's like, no, he's not. Like, he's not the same person he was even 4 years ago. And that's fine. We all get old, but like, do we have to send somebody, extrapolate this 4 years? How's he going to look in 4 years if this is how he's looking now? Like, it's not good, and you can't tell me it looks good, and you can't convince me it's all a right-wing conspiracy to, like, you know what I mean, to smear the man, and it's not ableist for me to point that out either. So.
Yeah, and I think another thing, I think they might say, well, okay, it's okay if he's not really all there in 4 years because we have Kamala waiting in the wings to take over. But
why not just run Kamala then, if that's how you feel? Like, don't make it into a Trojan horse thing then.
Yeah. Well, I think the other problem, and the thing about that that's not very reassuring is, again, my suspicion is, I think a lot of the arguments that have been pro Kamala have been, again, it's this Democratic Democratic, I don't know how to describe it, like just kind of like the politics within the Democratic Party of whose turn it is and everything. I don't think that Kamala Harris was chosen because she would literally be the best replacement for Joe Biden if he were to kick it, right? Like, I don't think that actually, like, I think the fact that there was so much back and forth about who should replace Biden and maybe it shouldn't be her says that, she may have been chosen to, people who wanted Hillary and we didn't get a woman this time. And so maybe appealing to women. Joe Biden came in under Barack Obama, who brought in a lot of the African-American vote in a way that had never happened before. And so there's kind of this, paying it forward back to the black community to choose another African-American on the ticket and everything. So I think that, and, I think there was a lot of appeasing of interest groups within the Democratic Party by selecting her possibly. Again, like I've said before, I think, what if it had been Biden and Bernie? Well, that would have, two white men. That doesn't play in 2020 in the Democratic Party. But, and again, they're both very old, but Bernie's still with it. But the fact is, I think the Democratic Party might be feeling, the Democratic voters, not the party itself, might be feeling a lot better about replacing Biden at this point if we had, somebody who was actually popular.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen videos of Kamala just, did you see the the coconut tree. Did you think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Sure. Yeah.
You exist within a context of what has come before, or what, whatever this crazy,
Everything is in context. My mother she would give us a hard time sometimes, and she would say to us, I don't know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you.
This woo-woo stuff she's talking about. Like, the thing is, like, if she runs for president, all that stuff's going to be blaring all over the media all the time, and nobody's going to take her seriously. And I'm not sure that they should. Like, it's bizarre stuff to be saying, right? You're a national politician.
Yep.
The wheels on the bus go round and round clip. Did you see that too?
Uh-huh.
Look at my bus! Oh my God, I love it! Oh wow! Look at the bus! Wheels on the bus go round and round.
Yep. There's a lot of those clips. Very awkward.
Like, this is why I'm saying I'm not sure she's a serious enough person to go up against Trump in a debate necessarily. Like, I think this assumption that because she was a prosecutor, she would do good against Trump, I'm not sure that's the case. So, and again, I think, like, and then the argument became, well, we can only replace Biden with Harris because African Americans would be very angry if we replaced her. They'd feel she got jumped over. Okay, again, I don't know exactly how popular she is with the most black voters, but also they said, well, we can't replace her because she's the only one who could take the Biden campaign's war chest, which has already been accumulated. Otherwise, they'd have to give the money to a PAC outside the campaign, and that would be less effective at targeting advertising or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, okay, why don't you just take the money, go back to the people who donated the money, say to them, look, we're going to return the money to you. We can do two things with your money right now. We can either keep your money and give it to a PAC, or we can give it back to you and have you redonate it directly to whoever the Democratic candidate would be after Biden. Like, why couldn't they do that? Would the donors not go for that? It seems like that might be just as easy.
Yeah.
But the idea that we might have to run a subpar candidate against Donald Trump for the future of this nation because of a little bit of paperwork snafu with the money, that's the logic for choosing our next president, whether irrespective of how popular she may or may not be. Mm-hmm. Like, again, this is the kind of the old thinking of the Democratic Party, which I think is losing us elections and popularity. It's this, the way they run the party, the way the patronage systems, the pandering to certain groups that we have to pander to. I don't think we have to pander to them, but we have to do right by them one way or the other. But a lot of times it comes down to pandering and kind of token representation, unfortunately, I'm afraid.
Well, I think it kind of boils down to what we talked about before with the whole it's my turn thing once again. And we're just kind of seeing another version of that with Kamala at this point. I feel like it's like, but it's her turn now, and it's like, I think
that's what got us here. That's what I'm saying.
That's what got us in this situation in the first place.
Yeah, it was Biden's turn, but then Biden didn't want to challenge Hillary, and then it was Hillary's turn, and then it was Biden's turn again, and now, oh gosh, can't we let him finish off his ancient career of politics by being a two-term instead of a one? Oh. And if it's not him, then it has to be the person he chose for a variety of reasons, which we, may partially understand. This is how we lose elections, I'm afraid, is by, being too rigid in our thinking about who can be the candidate.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was not on anybody's map. He'd made noises for years and years and years like he was going to run here, run there, kept thinking about it, testing the waters here and there. And when he did, he blew all the Republican, the neoconservative and even the Tea Party stuff. He blew a lot of that stuff just totally out of the water. Mm-hmm. I think that's what Bernie could have done for the left in a better way, but I don't know. Somebody on the far left, like we need. Some people have described it as the ratchet theory. Republicans turn things to the right. Democrats battle the far left and keep things in the middle, but the effect is we keep getting ratcheted further and further to the right, because there's no counterweight to the right.
Right.
So, But as long as the Democratic Party is more interested in, fending off attacks from the left flank that would actually be popular and populist, we're going to keep having to run, ancient centrists who lose, frankly, or people who are willing to toe the line for the centrist or carry water the centrist or get in line and wait their turn. Barack Obama as well. A lot of people felt he jumped the line. He gives one speech in whatever year it was, 2004, 2006 or whatever. And then, he's a one-term senator. A lot of people say he wasn't experienced enough. In the past, I disagreed with that. Looking back, I'm not sure he was experienced enough because I don't think that he understood the Republican threat properly. And he didn't understand, he had this bipartisan mindset that I think Biden has too, in a lot of ways. So, but the point is, when somebody jumps the line, that's when you get a popular candidate. Barack Obama was a widely popular candidate. Yes, we can, all that stuff. You have to run candidates who excite the masses. Waiting in line, waiting your turn doesn't excite the masses. I'm sorry.
Not exactly. Well, I hate to end it on such a dour note, but I do have to get to my next meeting in 6 minutes. So.
All right. Yeah, it's all good. All right. Yeah, we can let you go there. So anyways, sorry. I feel like I've been a little bit all over the place, but again, this conversation was originally going to be about the after the debate and replacing Biden. And then there was the assassination on Saturday morning, my time. Now it's Tuesday night here.
Yeah.
Things got really jumbled. We're living in interesting times, as the saying goes. So anyways, I can let you get going, Bob.
Cool. Well, I'm sure there'll be more to talk about in the next coming months here. So.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, I'm generally up for a discussion. So hopefully some nights my brain will be a little bit less discombobulated than it was tonight. But yeah.
It's all good. And if Agent Johnson is listening, it was all said in jest. Everything we said was said lightheartedly, and don't take it too seriously, FBI.
We all love freedom of speech here at the Rob Burgess Show.
Oh, we do. It's great. But all right, I'll talk to you soon, Joe.
All right. Yep. Later on. Bye-bye.